In today's video, we are diving into a highly anticipated sequel in the natural disaster genre titled Greenland 2: Migration. This film returns us to a world that has already faced total devastation and now fights to survive while searching for a new hope and a fresh beginning. The movie begins with John Garrity narrating how fragments of a colossal asteroid called Comet Clark slammed into Earth, triggering catastrophic destruction across the globe and wiping out nearly 70% of humanity within just a few days. The impacts polluted the air, poisoned water sources, destroyed ecosystems, and caused extreme climate shifts that made the planet's surface almost unlivable. As radiation spread and storms grew increasingly violent, the remaining humans were forced to retreat underground, taking shelter in heavily fortified bunkers scattered across the world. One of the most crucial of these shelters is located in Greenland, where a small group of survivors has managed to stay alive for 5 years after the apocalypse. 5 years later, we see John Garrity outside the Greenland bunker, carefully moving along the frozen coastline while staying in constant radio contact with the base. His mission is to search the surrounding areas for anything that could help sustain the remaining population. During this search, John discovers abandoned lifeboats washed ashore, silent evidence that others once tried to flee but never survived. As he continues exploring, John comes across a massive destroyer ship partially frozen in ice. Driven by curiosity and desperation, he boards the ship to see if anything useful remains. Inside, he finds valuable equipment and supplies, but the discovery quickly turns disturbing when he realizes the crew died long ago, their skeletal remains scattered throughout the vessel. Among the ruins, John finds a book filled with drawings of flowers, a quiet yet heartbreaking reminder of the beautiful world that once existed. Before John can fully absorb what he has seen, the bunker urgently warns him that a powerful radiation storm is approaching his location. They tell him that if he doesn't return immediately, he won't survive. Panic takes over as John runs back toward the bunker, pushing himself to his physical limits. Just as the storm engulfs the land, he narrowly makes it inside, sealing the bunker doors moments before it's too late. Inside the Greenland bunker, daily life continues under immense strain. Leaders, scientists, and engineers constantly debate how long their limited supplies can realistically last. Food is rationed carefully, and many fear the bunker won't be able to support everyone much longer. Some believe that if they can survive a few more months, it may become possible to grow crops on the surface again, offering humanity a chance to rebuild. However, Dr. Amina Paijem, one of the leading scientists, explains that although radiation levels have slightly dropped, humans still cannot survive outside for long periods without protection. She then presents a theory that deeply divides the group. According to her, life may be returning at the impact crater in southern France, where Comet Clark originally struck, similar to how life reemerged after the extinction of the dinosaurs. She explains that the heat, minerals, and water created by the impact could have produced conditions suitable for new life. While some cling to this idea as their last hope, others fear that France is far too dangerous due to ongoing conflicts and chaos after the collapse of global governments. Meanwhile, John meets with his therapist, and it is revealed that despite his strong and capable appearance, he is slowly dying from a terminal illness and has only 7 to 8 weeks left to live. Aware of his fate, John chooses to keep this devastating truth from his wife, Allison, and their young son, Nathan, believing that hope is the only thing keeping them alive. Life inside the bunker remains tense and fragile. Frequent earthquakes shake the structure, constantly reminding everyone that even underground, they are not completely safe. One day, the bunker receives a distress signal from survivors hiding in caves and abandoned mines outside. A heated debate erupts over whether they should risk their limited supplies to rescue them. Some argue that leaving them to die would be inhumane, while others fear that disease, radiation exposure, and food shortages could doom everyone if they allow more people inside. After intense discussion, the decision is put to a vote, and the bunker agrees to send a rescue patrol the following day. At the same time, Jean focuses on repairing damaged systems within the bunker, restoring water flow and stabilizing power lines. For a brief moment, life almost feels normal again as families gather, people share meals, and soft music plays in a small communal space. That fragile sense of calm is shattered when Jean learns that Nathan secretly left the bunker for a short time. Enraged and terrified, Jean confronts his son, while Nathan emotionally breaks down, struggling with being trapped underground, never seeing the sky or feeling the warmth of sunlight. The rescue team eventually returns with a group of survivors, but they also report that many others were left behind due to limited space. This reignites arguments about survival and resources. While inspecting the surrounding area, Jean notices dangerous cracks forming in the bunker walls. Before anyone can react, a massive earthquake hits, causing catastrophic structural failure as the bunker begins to collapse. Panic erupts instantly as people scream and run in every direction. Jean desperately searches for Allison, and together they frantically look for Nathan. They finally find him struggling to breathe due to radiation exposure. Realizing the bunker is no longer safe and that they can never return, they quickly gather essential supplies, put on gas masks, and attempt to escape. The western exit is overcrowded and unusable, forcing them to flee through the eastern tunnel, barely escaping seconds before the bunker collapses completely. Behind them, a massive tsunami slams into the Greenland coast, killing everyone who failed to escape. On the frozen shoreline, John and his family reach abandoned lifeboats and push off into the sea. Along the way, they rescue an injured Dr. Pajim and squeeze everyone into the last remaining boat. As towering waves threaten to overturn them, they somehow survive and drift into open water with no clear destination and extremely limited supplies. With only about a week's worth of food and water, they discuss their next move. They realize Iceland has already vanished and that Comet Clark altered ocean currents, pushing them south. Europe becomes their only possible option, and they eventually decide to head toward England. After days of drifting at sea, they finally reach land and discover they have arrived in Liverpool, England. Rising sea levels have submerged much of the city, turning streets into canals. At first, the city appears deserted, but soon they encounter large crowds of survivors trying to enter a government bunker, only to be rejected by military forces if they lack proper identification. Allison is briefly allowed inside, but when Dr. Pajim forces his way in despite warnings, he is shot and killed. Chaos erupts as panic spreads through the crowd, just as another radiation storm approaches. The group is forced to flee once again. Soon after, they meet a man named Samsul, also known as Obi, who originally came from Nigeria and has lived in England for many years. He agrees to help them reach London in exchange for John's watch. During the journey, Nathan becomes increasingly fascinated by Dr. Pajim's theory that the crater could be the birthplace of new life. Their journey is violently interrupted when a meteor shower rains from the sky. Samsul is killed while trying to save his car, forcing the group to take what supplies they can and continue on foot. Exhausted and emotionally drained, they eventually reach London, where Allison reunites with her sister, Mackenzie. Mackenzie has been sheltering patients inside a sealed section of a hospital using generators and air filtration systems to block radiation. Inside the hospital, they experience a rare moment of peace as they eat together, talk, and briefly forget about the apocalypse. That night, John's condition worsens, and he finally tells Allison the truth about his illness, admitting he doesn't have much time left. John explains that he doesn't want to die hiding underground and wants Nathan to see a place where life still exists, even if only for a short time. Together, they decide to travel to France and search for the crater. Mackenzie gives them fuel and directions, warning them not to stop for anyone. Along the way, they are ambushed by armed robbers. John manages to kill them, but one of their companions dies in the attack. They bury the dead and continue onward, eventually reaching the coast, where they discover the sea has dried up and transformed into a vast desert. To cross into France, they must traverse a terrifying narrow bridge suspended over a massive chasm. They barely survive as the structure collapses behind them. Later, they encounter a man named Dennis, who lives off-grid using solar power and air filtration systems to protect his family.
Dennis explains that
his wife has been paralyzed by radiation exposure, and he lives with his daughter Sarah. Dennis explains that France is divided into eastern and western factions, fighting over control of the crater, now known as the Promised Land.
John agrees.
Believing that his daughter has a future there, he asks John to take Sarah with them. Despite knowing the danger, John agrees.
Their journey continues through active war zones, where soldiers escort them and explain that the commander they were meant to meet has been killed. Eventually, another officer agrees to help them reach the crater. While traveling on a guarded bus, they are ambushed once more. John fights back but is shot in the stomach, forcing Allison to take control and drive toward their destination at full speed. Eventually, the road ends and they must continue on foot. After everything they've endured, they finally reach the crater and discover fertile land filled with clean water, green plants, and undeniable signs of new life. Dr. Pajim's theory is proven correct, and humanity finally has a chance to survive. Knowing his family is safe and that he has kept his promise, John peacefully dies at the edge of this reborn world.